Winston Churchill, Sir Winston Churchill, said a politician should never let a good crisis go to waste, and the Ukraine crisis has been an opportunity for some politicians to recover lost ground. Boris Johnson's position looks a bit more assured than it did. In France, Emmanuel Macron has seen his response to the invasion bring him a boost in the presidential election polls. The exception to the rule seems to be America's Joe Biden. His approval rating has hit a new low, a fraction, just a fraction higher than the worst figure ever posted by Donald Trump. Last night, during his State of the Union address, Mr. Biden seemed confused when he talked about Iran when he meant Ukraine.
Let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world.
Joining me now, the host of the America First radio show and former advisor to the Trump White House, Dr. Seb Gorka. Seb Gorka, welcome to you and appreciate your time. On the kind of transposing Iran when he meant Ukraine, I just introduced a guest at the top of the hour, well-known guest, former advisor to Theresa May, Nick Timothy. At the end, I called him Tim. It does happen. I'm not 79. And what's my excuse?
You don't need an excuse, Colin. You're hosting a show on GBNews. You don't have a military aide 30 feet from you 24 hours a day, even while you're sleeping, with a very large briefcase that has the launch codes for America's nuclear missiles. So, let's horses for courses. And as a friend of mine tweeted out, less than a minute into the speech, he said, how are we 15 seconds in and Biden's already slurring? I mean, that wasn't one little faux pas. It was all through the evening. He couldn't finish sentences. He misspoke again and again and again. Let's not forget, Colin, this is an individual who's had 2 brain aneurysms already. So it's really quite frightening that this is the man in control of our nuclear arsenals.
I've covered one of these when I was briefly in Washington, covered one of these State of the Union speeches, Seb, and it's one of those great big sort of set-piece occasions, isn't it? And you wonder how much they really matter. They worry to people inside the Beltway and all that stuff, don't they? But Middle America, do they really care? Does it matter?
When we've got double-digit inflation, which wasn't mentioned once, when we've got 2 million illegal aliens having crossed the border in just the first year of the Biden administration, and he lies to us brazenly saying, oh, we're going to secure the border. What, by letting another 2 million in? When he says, oh, we're going to fund the police, when his whole party had this BLM defund the police mantra for 2 years, I think it matters. But beyond the navel gazing inside the Beltway, you know who it really matters for? The Western civilization, the alliance of NATO nations, and the Ukrainians who are watching this speech. I mean, we had this virtue signaling, the Democrats with these little Ukrainian flag stickers on their lapels. Now we're being told that the Democrats are the arbiters, the supporters of freedom and liberty. Well, what about the last 2 years? COVID mandates, masks, or what about the people being hunted down after the January 6th quote-unquote insurrection? The bare-faced cheek of these people is shocking. And also, sadly, I think the Ukrainians may be drawing the wrong conclusions about how vociferously we have their back.
Seb, Hillary Clinton, unsurprisingly, yesterday tweeted that, thank goodness, she said, that we've got Joe Biden in the White House when the world faces uncertain times, and Ukraine in particular. I'm a little less certain. I mean, it's a counterfactual. We don't know, do we? We don't know. Nobody can say with utter conviction whether we would have reached this pass if there was still Donald Trump in the White House rather than Joe Biden. What do you think?
Hillary saying, thank you that Joe Biden is in the White House. I'll respond to the crooked Hillary. thank the good Lord she's not in the White House, because it could be even worse. Look, I know as a fact that my old boss, if he was still in the White House, this invasion would not have occurred. For the first president, not even the great Ronald Reagan, did what we did. When we had 200 Russian mercenaries destabilizing Syria, what did we do? We didn't invade. We're not neoconservatives. We had the DOD kill them. 200 Russian mercenaries were killed on our say-so, and that sent a message to Putin, and that sent a message to all dictators. And when it comes to who's responsible, yes, the psychotic Putin is responsible for the invasion. But Colin, you know as well as I do, he never would have pulled the trigger if we hadn't witnessed the disastrous surrender of Afghanistan. When we saw American forces tuck their tail between their legs, desert the only strategic airfield in the whole region, and run home to mama. When we saw 13 warfighters needlessly murdered by ISIS outside that Kabul airport, Putin said, okay, guys, get ready. It's time to roll.
Dr. Seb Gorka. Seb, really appreciate your thoughts as ever. Thank you very much.
Anytime.